It's time for the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Blake Sloan, one of the top real estate agents not only on the Grand Strand, but in the world. Been featured in Forbes magazine, the Wall Street Journal, NBC, and many other publications. And now, the Expert Advantage Real Estate Show with Blake Sloan. Welcome to Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Got an amazing show today. All kind of stuff going on in the real estate world. All over the place. Really, we'll talk about. We have some huge news in the interest rate world. We saw a huge jump this past week, and some big news from the Fed. And we'll talk about that and really how that's been affecting interest rates so far. We'll have the overall market numbers we have in for you guys. It's really interesting. We've seen multiple months of decline in terms of sales, and so that's something we'll really dig into. Some good news though across the board. We have seen an uptick in new pending deals. We've been watching that the past few weeks, and they've been averaging over 200 million per week, which is really good. And so we'll talk about that, kind of what's going on. So we've seen a surge in pending deals. We are a little concerned about interest rates because that could affect affordability. It's also going to affect home sellers if it does keep some buyers from purchasing. So we'll keep watching that, kind of what's going on there. We have seen some certain drops in key areas, especially last week when we dug into the overall micro market. We saw some significant drops in some areas on the Grand Strand. We'll just talk about kind of what's going on. We had a few things that we had on the list last week, didn't have a time to get to. We'll talk about why you should probably consider selling this fall, especially now that interest rates are going back up rapidly. That's something we'll talk about as well. One thing we have in there is just how Horry County is one of the fastest growing areas in this past decade of the state, and obviously also in the nation. So we'll talk about that. We also led the property values in Horry County, led increases over the state, which is awesome. One thing we'll talk about too, our team is hiring. We've had massive growth, about 70% growth, and we're looking to add to our team both administratively. We have administrative opportunity on our closing coordination. We have administrative opportunity just in general, admin, an internship opportunity, and also a photography opportunity where we're moving our amazing full-time photographer, wanted to be an agent himself, and he's transitioning to our sales team. Very excited about that for him. So we'll talk about that. We have some amazing success stories, and we'll talk about how inventory is raising really across the country and also on the Grand Strand, which is super important. So that's one thing we'll talk about. For anybody that's brand new to our show, usually have somebody kind of intro in there. It's just me today. But one thing we always talk about really is just this huge thing that I see happen over and over. And it really comes down to the DNA behind the show, why we've been doing this show for over 10 years now. And it comes down to just the biggest mistake I see that home sellers make over and over. And also home buyers make those same mistakes every single day. I literally see it 3 to 4 days a week over and over. And that big mistake is they make the mistake of thinking that all real estate agents are the same. And it could not be further from the truth, right? Just like any doctor, any lawyer, if you're charged with a crime you did not commit, right? The last thing you want is a part-time attorney who's your friend, who's tried a couple cases before. You want the absolute best, most aggressive attorney who specializes in that type of law, who can get you the absolute best result in that courtroom, right? Why would you allow yourself to have anything less than that when you're dealing with one of your largest assets? But all the time people just use their friend or the part-time agent or someone that, is just referred to them without really knowing the ins and the outs and really what their production is. And it makes a massive difference. And so the whole point behind this show we talk about at least every single week is the single most important variable that determines your failure or success as a home seller and also a home buyer comes down to one thing only. That thing is the agent you choose, period, right? Not the wall colors, not the grass quality. It comes down to the agent that you pick and specifically how he or she executes in terms of getting the property sold. And so the reason that is when you're selling a property, there's 118 different variables from A to Z. If each one's handled correctly, that puts money in your pocket, property gets sold. Anything's handled incorrectly, aka they drop the ball in any way. And that could be anything from, does the agent actually answer the telephone when someone calls a for sale sign? Do they actually respond to web leads when that buyer finds it online at night and inquires online? What do the quality of the photos look like? Are they shot with a cell phone or professional? What's the order of the photos? There is a psychology to how buyers search, and you really got to make sure that you understand those variables and get it done. And every single day I see it over and over, especially in the current market. Home sellers leaving $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 on the table by not having the right strategy in place. And so what we did, we said, look, there's an issue, a big challenge
in the real estate industry, and this is something I did years and years ago. I said, there's got to be a better way, because what most agents do are the 3 Ps. One, they promise the world to get the listing from you. They'll tell you anything and everything you want to hear to get that listing. 2, they put it into MLS, right? The multiple listing service. And then number 3, they pray that someone else from a different company brings a buyer. Meanwhile, they're down the street trying to get the next listing from your neighbor just because they're trying to survive and pay their bills. And that's just the reality of the real estate market and the whole overall industry as a whole. And so what I did, I said, there's got to be a better way. And we looked and we said, look, what variables have to happen from A to Z? And so that's how we know there's 118 of them. We sat down, mapped them all out, and said, how can we create a system that's proven and repeatable, that creates maximum leverage at every single point for our client? And then how do we stack those dominoes up on the back end? And that's exactly what we did. We created this thing called the Guaranteed Sold System, the only proven system sells twice as fast and for up to 20% more money than traditional methods. And it works very, very, very well. And so the whole process there is, how do we create a small gap at point 1? By managing that variable with 2 things. 1, people, aka a team, and technology, right? Software and systems and processes. So we have predictable results over and over and over. And that allows me to win for you, because we can invest more money up front, knowing that we have a result on the back end that's predictable. And so that system works very, very well. I designed it. We licensed to other agents in other parts of the country, but it's exclusive to us here. And it works very, very, very well. And that's one thing that's a big thing we've been talking about lately, is just the pace of the market is crazy right now. And you've got to make sure that you have the right positioning, the right systems, or you're costing yourself a lot of money. I've told this story before, and it probably might be the last time I'll talk about it. We'll see. Dave's probably shaking his head at me, but here's the thing. Right now, you don't need me, right? You don't need me to sell your house. You can probably sell your house yourself, or you can have any old, average, frustrated agent sell it for you. But the problem is, that does not mean you're going to sell that house for the most amount of money. See, most people put a sign out, you have it sold today. A buyer drives by, makes you a great offer, and it's sold. But the challenge is, are you always getting the absolute top dollar that your property deserves? And to do that, you have to find a buyer that's willing to pay a premium for your house. And so let's use the classic Corvette example. I shared this last week, but that's very important and pertinent right now. Let's say you have an amazing, pristine classic Corvette. Let's say it only has less than 100 miles on it. It's been in your garage for years and years. And you have that amazing classic Corvette worth a lot of money. You can take that classic Corvette. You can put that Corvette in the Walmart parking lot on 501 today. Have it sold this weekend, right? Buyer comes up, calls you on the phone, buys it, no problem. But let me ask you this. Is there a way to get more money for that classic Corvette than just putting it in the Walmart parking lot? And the answer is yes. How do you do that? You have to get more exposure for the car. And so if you took the same classic Corvette and put every Corvette enthusiast magazine, every Corvette enthusiast group online, right, every Corvette enthusiast really newsletter online to get more exposure and more eyeballs, you now drive up demand and increase the chance that someone's willing to pay a premium for that classic Corvette. And see, that's the same thing that our system does for you. We have a national and international exposure, bringing buyers from all across the globe that come in and are willing to pay a premium for the property. And we do that by spending a lot of money. And so that's the key thing there, is what most agents do is they take your property and they put it into the Walmart parking lot. That's called the MLS. And so you deserve much more than that in terms of your marketing and your hard-earned equity that you've been paying payments for over and over and over. And so don't let that go away by using an average agent. You want to know more about how that works, reach out, call us. The Guaranteed Sold System works very, very well. We also have a system on the flip side for buyers called the Unfair Advantage Home Buying System. Gets you priority access to foreclosure, distress sales, desperate sellers, the absolute best negotiation. But right now, the market is so hot, you deserve the absolute best, because it can be worth $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. We'll take a quick break, come right back, and have the brand new market numbers for everyone.
I have bought and sold a lot of properties in hot, cold, moderate markets, and one of the lessons I have learned is this: hire the agent that knows how to create the most demand for your home. Now, if I needed to create demand in this market, no question, there's only one real estate agent I trust if I needed to sell my home. I'm talking about Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group. Now, he services the entire Myrtle Beach area, attracts hundreds of buyers every week, and sells a home on average every 24 hours. Now, that helps you generate multiple offers and sell your home for the most money possible. Plus, it's like getting an immediate offer on your home, because if your home doesn't sell for the price and the deadline you agree to, you will have it bought for cash, and he offers flexible fees. Find out how much demand your home can command right now. Call the agent that creates the most demand. Call Blake Sloan today at 808-SOLD. That's 888 sold or online at BlakeSloan.com. That's BlakeSloan.com.
Hi, I'm Barbara Corcoran. To sell your home on time for the most money, you need a sharp agent with a marketing strategy that creates the most demand. Bottom line, you need a partner willing to put their own money on the line for you. In Myrtle Beach, I would hire Blake Sloan. His international marketing creates so much demand that if your home doesn't sell at a price and deadline you agree to, Blake will buy it. Partner with the agent I trust. Go online or call and get your home sold.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. Just some great info that's really important right now, just because we've seen some different changes for the first time in years and years and years. I'm so used to every single week we talk about growth, the growth. Sales are up, sales are up, sales are up for years now, right? And so the reality is it's been interesting lately. And so if you look at month versus month of the same month last year, and that's typically how most of the data is done. So mostly it compares like last month, which is August. It compares this August to last August because we are a seasonal marketplace, and that's just kind of what most people do across the country, really. And so if you look at those numbers, they're pretty good. So August of last year versus August of this year, if you look at single family home sales, which is what most of us own and trade, right? 658 home sales, a 5.1% increase from the same time last year, which is great. And so the one thing that you run into, though, ideally, if you look at the last 2 months, there has been a decline significantly. If you go back to June of this year, there were 797 home sales. Right now, down to 658. And so that's a decline in July and also in August. And so we have seen it peak this year in June. The second highest was April with 784. March was 777. And it's interesting to watch July and August go down. I do think a lot of that has to do with we really had a front-loaded first and second quarter, just because a lot of people are moving back then because of lockdowns. They were angry at their governors, and we had people sleeping in cars and stuff last year. It was just crazy to see that. So I think some of that is leveling out. We did have an interest rate bump earlier a few months ago, which kind of, I guess, slowed sales a little bit, but we'll keep watching that. The good news is we'll talk about pending deals. We've been talking about what's going under contract. I think we'll see another bump in September's numbers, in my opinion. I think it will go back a little bit, which would be great. It'll go up. That's some of this great news. Now, what's really the best news for everyone is prices. Prices are still up significantly. Overall average price hit a new record at $409,136, which is awesome. It's up 21.8% from the same month last year. And so we're beating the national average, which is about 18% in most markets across the country. And so that's great news for us. Again, it's a new record here on the Grand Strand, over $400,000 for average sale price. I never thought I would see that in a very long time. The other part, median price, very, very good. Median price up 20.4%, which is amazing. $325,000, a new record there as well. Now, what's protecting price right now is really the story of inventory. Inventory has been near record lows. It's coming back up the last 2 months, though. We hit an overall scrape of the lowest inventory came between April and May. It was at 0.9 months for a little while there. Now it's up to 1.4 months. And so last month, July, was 1.3. August, 1.4 months. We're still significantly below the national average right now because there's just so much money coming in. And so that's what's been protecting price, even with the slowdown of almost a few hundred properties a month. You're still seeing price be protected, which is great. We're down. Actually, there's a 54.8% decrease in the amount of homes for sale right now than the same time last year, which is really, really good. And that's why you're seeing prices at 20+% increase, because it's what we call a super seller's market. And so that's just something that's really important to look at. If you do watch the trends, though, we're seeing sales decline a little bit, right? The past 2 months, we're seeing inventory increase the past 2 months. And so the lagging indicator is always price. And so we may see that soften out a little bit, at least flatten out. We could be scraping a little bit of a top here, at least in my opinion. I do think we may bounce back, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens, especially if you see interest rates climb, which is going to reduce sales more. And then obviously you're going to see prices kind of level off a little bit. So if you've been a seller listening for a while, thinking about cashing out with the rental property, maybe some time to think about taking some chips off the table and being able to kind of reinvest that somewhere else. And so that's just something interesting to look at. The one thing, though, that's also been pretty good overall is showings per listing. We're averaging 7.3 showings per listing across the entire multiple listing service, which is great. It was actually up from July, was 7.2. Down from the peak of this year, which is April, when it was at 8.2. And so that usually shows something that goes under contract about 60 days after that. That's something very, very important to look at. Condos have been doing very, very well. Condo sales up 11.5% from the same time last year. But guess what? Also, you're seeing the same exact thing. There's a 3-month decline right now in condos. Last month, 689 condos sold in the Grand Strand. If you look at the peak of this year, it was in May. 846 condos sold in May. Now only 689. And so you can see that decline for 3 months. Some of that has to do with inventory. Some of that has to do with really what we call, just a lot of buyers being tired overall. And we call it buyer fatigue in the marketplace. And so that's something we've seen happen. The good news is price has been up 8.3% for median price year month versus month. So August 2020 versus August 2021, up 8.3% at 170,000. Also, average sale price up 10.1%, which is awesome. $209,186. So great news for condos. And obviously what's happening, helping that inventory. We've been scraping all-time lows for the past 2 months. 1.1 months inventory, down 77.1% right now from the same time last year. That's a huge drop. What we saw was everyone who was trying to buy single-family homes had then moved to condos because they are more affordable. And townhomes, 2 and 3 bedroom condos, and a lot of those dried up too. And as prices, were driven up, I've seen a lot of people now. Most recent in the past 2 weeks, have been buying what we call condo tails, which is like a hotel room on the ocean front, and using that as their primary residence, which is a first for me to see so many people doing that. But ideally, they want to be down here. They want to have the lifestyle of Myrtle Beach. And ideally, they just want to make sure they can get in the market before they're getting priced out. And so we've seen a lot of retirees who've been priced out, who've been looking for months and months and months. They waited too long through COVID. Boom, all of a sudden prices are up 20%. They can no longer afford that property they wanted to. And so we're seeing that happen across the board. One good thing to note to look at, though, is we did see an increase in terms of pending deals lately. It was running about 500-600 deals per 7-day average. In the last 2 weeks, it's been right about 700. So right now, the last 7 days, 708 properties under contract for a total of 211 million, 161, 153. So anytime we're over 200 million for the last 7-day period is really good. So I do foresee us seeing an increase this month and next month in terms of closed deals just by looking at that traffic. The one good news is we're seeing inventory climb. If you guys remember, about a month and a half ago, we were about 370 properties that were active single family homes in Horry County. Right now, 563. So that's great news. And we're seeing that inventory climb up, not just here, but also across the country. We'll talk about that here in a few minutes. One thing, though, that's probably the most shocking news of this past week's news, last week's 30-year fixed rate mortgage was 2.96%. Still under 3, which is great. Right now, as of today, massive jump, 3.10%. And so that's one of the most significant jumps we've seen in a very long time. Obviously, that's going to have some buyers pull off. And also what a lot of sellers don't realize is as rates go up, the ability to afford a certain price range goes away because all of a sudden debt to income, the payment amount per month based on their income is limited, right? And so that's just something you want to watch out for. 15-year fixed rate right now, 2.53%. An FHA loan, 2.75%. A jumbo loan for a 30-year jumbo loan right now is 3.13%. And a 5-year adjust rate mortgage right now, 2.65%. And so that's something we'll talk about here in a second. But I wanted to share a recent article here that came from Barron's. A lot of you guys may have heard about this and seen it, but it is going to be interesting. I shared this with my team last week, but it came from the Federal Reserve. The quote is, "Rates may rise sooner than expected," the Fed indicates. And so that was something that's important. We talked about some different things in it, but one thing that was important that said it was a hawkish surprise that came as the Fed suggested it may, in the coming months, start reducing the emergency $120 billion a month Treasury and mortgage-backed securities purchase program it launched in response to COVID-19 pandemic. And so obviously that really did a lot of things to the bond market, which affects the interest rates for mortgages. And so long story short, we all thought it was going to gradually go up 2022. Right now, you're seeing that move a lot faster. So if I'm a home buyer, definitely start thinking different, start getting into the groove, and definitely want to pull that trigger sooner than later, because the number one mismanaged variable in the home buying process always comes down to interest rate. People focus so much in terms of their actual price of the home. They don't really look at the affordability. And like one example here, and this is something I share with my team when we get this all the time as an objection sometimes, it says, I'm going to wait for prices to come down, right? Today's housing market, let's say the listing price is $550,000, interest rate 2.99%, monthly mortgage is $2,370. Now, let's say that the prices drop, but interest rates go up. Listing price now goes down to $500,000, where it was $550 before. Interest rates are up to 4.5%. They're normalized. Now that payment is $2,570. So $200 more a month just in that over 30 years. And so that adds up over time, but also limits buyers who can afford your house. And so if you're thinking about selling and you're watching sales decline for the past 2 months in single family homes, 3 months in condos, you're also seeing inventory increase, you definitely want to think about getting on the market ASAP. I wouldn't wait till late fourth quarter this year. If I was choosing from a strategy standpoint, definitely take advantage of early fourth quarter coming up. If you want to know more about how that works, how we can get you the most amount of money right now, if you just have questions in general, reach out, call myself, my office anytime, any day, 843-808. So we'll take a quick break and be right back.
When I'm moving on, won the award for ACM Song of the Year.
How much time we got, Dave?
Understand the challenges that come with life's big change. For many, that happens when it comes time to sell their home.
7.5 minutes.
Okay. All right, cool.
Selling your home easy, stress-free. An agent who's willing to let you out of the contract if you're not happy with their service. That's why in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you that Blake Sloan of Sloan Realty Group markets your home on a whole different level. Now listen, Blake is so confident in his ability to sell your home quickly and for more money that he guarantees to sell it or he'll buy it himself. If you're moving on, trust Blake to provide your family a stress-free home sale experience. Find Blake Sloan online at blakesloan.com or you can call him at 843-808-SOLD.
Welcome back to the Blake Sloan Real Estate Show. We have our hot buyers alert. This is something we've been doing for years now. And if you listen for a while, you just hear this number go higher and higher and higher and higher. So my team and I are working with a ridiculous amount of home buyers who are looking for homes in the Myrtle Beach, whole entire Grand Strand area, from $150,000 to $3.5 million. If you're thinking about selling, anyone thinking about selling, please contact us immediately. 843-808-SOLD. That's 843-808-SOLD. Check this out. We have a weekly number. We've been doing this for years and years and years now. Usually Dave reaches out, but I got that number for you. So we have the real-time active count of home buyers who are searching on our website that we drive traffic to. Right now, as of today, this second, 63,833. Again, that's 63,833 separate buyers. Those are username, password account from all over. And people say, how is that possible? And so the reason that is, and the way we have that, is our business model is totally different. It's a lot more innovative than the old school 8-track tape business model that most agents operate. And we have a team of 20 plus buyers agents. We call them buyer experts. The listing team, we call it with listing specialists. We have an inside sales team, an outside sales team, an administrative team. And so what it does is it allows me to outspend the average agent 100 to 1 from a marketing standpoint. So anyone listening, I get this question all the time of like, why should I call you versus anyone else? Well, the reality is I'm outspending the competition, the other agent, 100 to 1 before you ever pick up the phone to call me. I have 63,833 buyers that we're going to sell something to at some point, right, across the market. It might as well be your house, and we might as well match it up immediately so we can get your house sold for the most amount of money. Back to the classic Corvette story, right? That's how you get more exposure in that scenario. Right now on the site, Mark Wood, he's from Hanover, Massachusetts, just registered on the site 11 minutes ago. We have Lisa Mitchell from Baltimore, Maryland. I got Claire Wright from Brevard, North Carolina. I got Leland, North Carolina. I got Victor in Myrtle Beach. I got Brittany in Georgetown, South Carolina. Gail from Middleton, Massachusetts. Charlotte, North Carolina. Centerburg, Ohio. I got Kansas on here. A bunch of North Carolina. More Ohio. Massillon, Ohio. Casey Allen on here. Brand new. Just registered yesterday. Already has 2 favorites of properties. And so she came through our Google paid advertising. And so that's something just goes to show, like, look, we have hot buyers. If you know anyone out there thinking about selling that mentioned it to you, or the most important thing, the reason we do this show, and probably the most rewarding thing for doing this show, is when somebody listens to the show, refers a friend to us, because obviously we take extra good care of them. This is a show I've been doing for a long time. I'm obviously personally heavily involved. And so if you do me a favor, right, anyone you come across that mentions selling, if you work with them, a relative, whatever it is, or they just talk to you about selling, say, you got to call my friend Blake. Save me your phone, 843-808-SOLD. And also, you can always go to blakesloan.com. We have tons and tons of testimonials, videos on there, lots of things to kind of show you the amazing success stories we have. If you want, got a couple really cool success stories you want to get to, which we're very, very proud of. This is kind of the most rewarding thing for me, for sure. So Andrew and Nicole, They have plans to build their new home within the next year. They knew that the market is super hot, and now it's perfect time to sell for them to get the absolute top dollar for their home. Thankfully, Andrew heard about myself and our team on the radio, decided to give us a call. I came in, designed a custom plan to get them absolute top dollar, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, a virtual reality walkthrough. Within 24 hours, we had massive traffic, had them 4 offers in their home. Andrew and Nicole accepted an offer for $10,000 above asking price, which is already high. And now they're able to move on, use the money they're getting for the building of their next home and have maximum equity in their pocket. Also, Fred and Marilyn have been trying to sell. This is a cool story. This is a perfect example of the old school mentality and new school mentality. Fred and Marilyn had been trying to sell their vacant lot in Georgetown, South Carolina, obviously, for literally years. They have been through many so-called local realtors and they had zero success. Thankfully, Fred heard about myself on the radio, and specifically our national advertising, decided to give us a call. We came in, I designed a custom plan, launched our global marketing blitz, professional photos, and within just 2 weeks, had massive buyer traffic in there and had their property under contract in 2 weeks. Same people couldn't get it sold. And this is the one thing I hear about Pawleys Island and Georgetown. They say, well, I need a really local agent. The problem with your local agent, they don't have a national reach. A lot of people in Connecticut, we're $10, $20 million, don't necessarily know about Pawleys Island yet. They just know Myrtle Beach, and our advertising captures them, and they also capture anybody searching for Pawleys in Georgetown. So you have to have the right exposure on the biggest level to have the most amount of buyers. Back to the classic Corvette style. So just because your classic Corvette is in Georgetown and Pawleys doesn't mean you don't need the national exposure with a big-time advertiser. And so just know that for sure, anyone out there listening, that's one of the biggest mistakes we hear all the time. In this example, somebody multiple years with local agents couldn't get it done. We got it done in 2 weeks. And so great story there. And also, Betty, she reached out to us for an instant offer. She just said she wanted instant buyout at a certain number that she wanted to get based on what was owed and things like that. And we showed her, hey, look, we can get you more money if you want to and do it the same exact way on the market. We came and designed a custom plan, launched a global marketing blitz, professional photos, the virtual reality walkthrough, had the home on the market for $10,000 more than she thought she'd get for it, had a full price cash offer in 2 days. And so amazing stories there. We want you to be our next success story. Reach out to me, 843-808-SOLD. Dave says we got 1 minute left. Here's the deal. Anybody looking for a high-level team you want to be a part of administratively, if you have closing experience, if you have real estate experience, you just want a guaranteed income, reach out to me. Looking to grow our team. Our team's seen massive growth. Alex on my team, so we put almost right at 800 properties under contract this year. And so if you want to be part of our team, reach out to me, 843-808-SOLD, or anybody you know looking to buy or sell. Do me a favor and say, look, you got to call my buddy Blake this week. He's going to push hard, and we'll see you here on next week's show.